Hey everyone, I hope you're having an awesome day. I'm Caleb Bowen, and this is the Redline Report powered by HireMaster. In this week's Inside the Numbers segment, in spite of the economic and political uncertainties facing the transportation industry, most shippers and railroads are shifting their focus to the congestion on the railroads. Railcar manufacturer Greenbrier is seeing and feeling the effects of the congested supply chain, with its chief commercial and leasing officer, Brian Comstock, saying, quote, "The truck market is pretty congested. They're having issues. The rail velocity is congested, and so there's still a lot of supply chain constrictions. That's really what people are focused on, is how do we get our product to market," end quote. During Greenbrier's third fiscal quarter, the company announced executives will focus on attempts to ease railroad congestion in order to satisfy customers, as its earnings showed a decline in profit margin. Net profits in the third fiscal quarter of 2022 were $3.1 million, compared with $12.8 million in the same quarter last year. However, they did see a revenue increase of 16% to $793.5 million on an increased volume of deliveries and through passed along input cost escalations in its manufacturing segment. Greenbrier President and CEO Lori Tukorius said, quote, "I would say our feeling on the state of the market is cautiously optimistic. When you get deeper beyond just the headlines, we see demand by a number of shippers to add equipment to the rails to be able to ship more products via the rails," end quote, which shares the feelings of many within the supply chain that the overall outlook is getting brighter. Along those same lines, the railroads in the U.S. are extremely chaotic with the aforementioned congestion and labor disputes, which may lead to an unfortunate rail strike soon. Jason Doering, who serves as the Nevada State Legislative Director for SMART Transportation Division since 2011, has experienced firsthand the various changes throughout his 18 years at the Union Pacific Railroad. Doering expressed concerns, stating that the railroad, quote, "demands too much time away from one's family and work days that last up to 19 hours, combining 12-hour shifts with hours of waiting around for transportation for relief crews," end quote. As a consequence of poor benefits, grueling demands, and unfair pay, the industry is facing employment issues. The Union Pacific Railroad is struggling to retain employees. Statistics show that, quote, "the $22 billion railroader had 30,100 employees during the first 3 months of 2022. 5 years prior, the company had nearly 12,000 more workers," end quote. A notable decrease in the employment retention rate perpetuates an increase in excruciating demand for labor workers. The employment issue has led to 112,000 rail workers to organize a strike that could happen soon. In Freight Insights this week, with the use of advancing technologies, the LTL industry is seeing inefficiencies dissipate in shipment invoicing, pricing, and in tendering. Industry experts know there is still a long way to go before the process will be fully automated. However, steps continue to be taken heading in that direction. Old Dominion Freight Lines has launched a pilot program offering all-in pricing to LTL shippers. The program is offered to those shippers who are digitally capable of interfacing with the carrier. Curtis Garrett, the Chief Strategy Officer at Reconnects, formerly Recon Logistics, a company who provides shippers with expertise and tools to navigate the complexities of LTL shipping, told FreightWaves that the standardization of the process among carriers is what's needed, and he disclosed potential challenges. Garrett stated that, quote, "the $50 billion LTL industry is dominated by a few large players, which have spent decades building out their own idiosyncratic systems," end quote. However, Garrett is optimistic in the evolution of existing and new technologies, saying, quote, "collaboration, community, and trust among the key participants will be required. Once the standard is set, the rest will fall in line," end quote. A 2+ year contract battle has led to growing tensions with unionized railway workers. Members of the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen voted to the tune of 99.5% in favor of authorizing a strike should it be deemed necessary in the coming days. Wages and health care are among the most disputed issues between the unions and the railroads. And with negotiations at an impasse, the National Mediation Board released both parties for a 30-day cooling off period. Without the White House stepping in, both parties will be free to act in its own best interest, including the potential strike as early as today. The BLET National President Dennis Pierce said in a statement, quote, "Let's be clear, in our third year of negotiations, The rail carriers have never made a contract proposal to our union that their employers, our members, would accept. Not once, end quote. The National Carriers Conference Committee, which represents the railroads, disagrees, stating that their proposals offer competitive employee benefits and compensation at levels higher than most U.S. industries. A White House intervention could provide a 30-day window to maintain operations with ongoing negotiations, which would avert the looming strike. But the Biden administration hasn't signaled its willingness to step in. And that's all for this week's Redline Report. I'm Caleb Bowen. Be sure to follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel to catch each episode and leave us a like and a comment. We'll see you next time on the Redline Report, powered by HireMaster.